أشهد أن لا إله إلا الله وحده لا شريك له وأشهد أن محمدا عبده ورسوله أما بعد فأعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. My dear viewers, Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh. May the peace and blessings of Allah be upon you all. Welcome back on our series MTA Kids Time. We discuss about our God, our Allah, and questions surrounding the existence of Allah Almighty. In our previous episode, we have talked about the purpose of man's life, and then also the belief of Allah Almighty with full conviction, despite not being able to know the true nature of Allah Almighty. So therefore, we will continue from where we stopped in our previous episode. In this episode, we will also try to deal with at least two questions that are commonly raised. So always, our tradition demand, we start the program with the recitation from the Holy Quran. So please, let's hear the recitation from Sister Tahira Ifofan. Please give us the recitation. There's the mic.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. الرحمن علم القرآن خلق الإنسان علمه البيان. الشمس والقمر بحسبان والنجم والشجر يسجدان والسماء رفعها ووضع الميزان ألا تطغوا في الميزان وأقيموا الوزن بالقسط ولا تخسروا الميزان والأرض وضعها للأنام فيها فاكهة والنخل ذات الأكمام والحب ذو العصف والريحان فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان خلق الإنسان من صلصال كالفخار وخلق الجن من مارج من نار فبأي آلاء ربكما تكذبان. Translation. In the name of Allah, the Gracious, the Merciful. It is God, the Gracious, who has taught the Quran. He has created man. He has taught him plain speech. The sun and the moon run their courses according to a fixed reckoning, and the stemless plants and the trees humbly submit to his will. And the heaven he has raised high and set up a measure, that you may not transgress the measure. So weigh all things in justice, and fall not short of the measure. And he has set the earth for his creatures. Therein are all kinds of fruits, and palm trees with shoots, and grain with its husk, and fragrant plants. Which then of the favors of your Lord will you twain deny, O men and jinn? He created men from dry wringing clay, which is like baked pottery, and the jinn he created from the flame of fire. Which then of the favors of your Lord will you twain deny? Surah Al-Rahman, chapter 55, verse 1 to 7.
MashaAllah, thank you very much for that wonderful recitation from Surah Ar-Rahman. That is the most merciful, or the gracious. That is, of course, Allah Almighty. As I always say, that we have evidence of the existence of Allah Almighty in every single chapter of the Holy Quran. So you have just reminded me here, one of the verses of the Holy Quran in Surah Ibrahim, chapter 14, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is saying, Bada a'udhu billahi minash shaitan rajim, wa atakum min kulli ma sa'altumuhu, wa in ta'uddu ni'matallahi la tuhshuha, innal insana la zalumun kafar. That Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala gave you all the necessary things that you need, and then if you try to count the blessing and the favor of Allah on this earth, you will count the whole of your life. You shall never be able to count every single favor and blessing of Allah Almighty. But then solely, man is in a constant state of rejecting or on being ungrateful to Allah Almighty. And this is what Allah the Almighty says, which of the favor of Allah will you deny? So thank you very much for that wonderful recitation. So therefore we move straight towards the question of the day, and then we said today we will be talking about two questions inshallah, which I will first invite Sister Zainab to give us the first question. Please, Sister Zainab, give us the first question that we will want to discuss in this episode.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
My question is, does God punish us if we do not act upon his commandments and commit a sin or crime?
Jazakumullah, that's the first question that we'll be talking about. Does God punish us if we do not act upon his commandments and commit a sin or a crime? Like I said, you only believe in this if you believe Allah exists, right? But those people who don't believe in the existence of Allah Almighty, they don't care. They commit sins because they believe that no accountability, nobody is going to question them tomorrow. But as Muslims and every single believer of a religion, they believe, of course, Allah Almighty is going to be questioning them. So therefore, the answer to that, first and foremost, let's establish the attributes of Allah Almighty, the beautiful attributes of Allah Almighty in the Holy Quran. Always we hear Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala saying, Inna Allaha ghafurur rahim. Allah is the most forgiving and the most merciful, right? Whatever any person you see who is kind, sympathetic, generous, that is just one of the reflection of the attributes of Allah Almighty. Takhallaqu bi akhlaqillah. And as-sabur and al-halim. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is trying to tell us that through the Holy Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, we have to adopt the attributes of Allah Almighty. He is sabur and he is halim. He is somebody who is patient and somebody who is very kind. So therefore, whatever we are manifesting in our attributes, like the good attributes, kindness, justice, righteous, how to call it, forgiveness, these are just a reflection of the attributes of Allah Almighty. Allah is the most kind and the most merciful. And Allah Almighty is also most forgiving. Wasiyat rahmati kulla sayin. The mercy of Allah encompasses everything. So therefore, but we have to understand one thing. Allah, despite Allah being the most merciful, most forgiving, understand, most gracious, and then all the beautiful attributes of Allah you mentioned, let us not forget the fact that if we go against the purpose of our creation, the purpose of our creation, we said in our previous episode, is to worship Allah Almighty. So if we go against that purpose, and then we are going against every single commandments of Allah Almighty, then what do we expect? No matter what, if I am so kind to you and you are every single day violating me, understand, violating my way of this life, you want to obstruct me, you want to make me angry, eventually what will happen? All my kindness towards you is going to diminish. So it's the same thing to Allah Almighty. Allah Almighty, despite being the most forgiving, merciful, you have to act upon his commandment. And this is what exactly he is saying. He say, when my servant call on me, وَإِذَا سَأَلَكَ عِبَادِي أَنِّي قَرِيبٌ فَإِنِّي قَرِيبٌ أُجِيبُ دَعْوَةَ الدَّاعِ إِذَا دَعَانِ. He say, when my servant calls me, please inform them that I am very near. But then, they should answer to my call, meaning they should act upon my commandment first before I accept their prayers, before I forgive them. You understand? So therefore he's saying, but when people exceed the limits in mischief, wrongdoings, arrogance, or persecution of the innocent people, then God's wrath is rose against such people, and they are sometimes punished in this world in addition to their chastisement in the hereafter. You can only attract the mercy of Allah if you are acting upon the commandments of Allah Almighty. You are not somebody who is arrogant. You are not somebody who is causing facade, meaning destruction on the earth. You are not, you understand, persecuting the righteous servants of Allah Almighty. We have seen repeated histories, understand, record that that you see people, they are punished as a result of their misbehavior, and Allah Almighty gave them chance, warning them time and again, time to time, warning them, but still they did not pay heed. Then eventually, when they exceed the limits, they continue persisting into such action, such misconduct in the society, causing, uncomfortable society. Then the only result of that is going to be the punishment of Allah Almighty befalling you, which we do not pray for. So therefore, Allah Almighty forgive us if our crimes that are committed is unintentionally and we are ready to repent. But if we commit crime intentionally and we are not ready to do tawbah, then there is no door open for us to have the forgiveness of Allah Almighty, and He will automatically punish us if we fail to repent. You understand? So that is very clear. So we move to the next question. Can we call on Tyra? Please read your next question.
Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
My question says, if someone commits an offense against us, what should be our response? Should we punish that person or should we forgive him?
That's also another very important question. We have already talked about Allah Almighty. For Him, He forgives. You understand? He forgives and is merciful only when we are ready to have the mercy of Allah Almighty. And as well, the same thing to human beings. He is saying that if someone is to commit an offense against us, that is we among ourselves, what should we be our response? Is it always we should forgive, or we should always take revenge? If somebody slaps you, you should take the slap back, understand? Or by slapping the individual. Should it be the way? Islam is a very complete religion, and it gives a solution to every single misconduct in our society. So therefore, the point to remember about punishment or taking revenge is all geared towards the purpose of reformation. If somebody is to commit bad things or crime that is, heinous, so people punish the individual. They want the individual to reform, to stop committing such crime. You understand? So, but the Holy Quran, has made it very categorical clear. It said, the recompense of an injury is an injury, the like thereof. But whoso forgives and his acts bring about reformation, his reward is with Allah. You understand? If somebody caused an injury to you, what is going to be the revenge? The like of the same injury. If somebody is to slap you on the head, on the face, if you are to take revenge, you should not slap any other parts of the body but except the face. You understand? If somebody is to knock you on the head, you have no right to knock him in other parts of the body except the part where he knocked you. That is justice. But then Allah Almighty says, whosoever forgive the individual, that is the best. Understand? Your reward is with Allah Almighty. But then, as Masih Maud alayhi salatu explaining this in light of Hadith and the Holy Quran, he is saying that it is not always, it's not every crime or situation we should forgive. We know forgiveness is very good. People tell you, okay, forgive the person, you will have reward. Yes, you will have reward from Allah Almighty, but then not every forgiveness is good or is recommended in the society. There are certain people, if they commit evil things, if you forgive them, they continue doing the thing that is normal. So there should be a step taken to punish them and let them know that what they are doing is wrong, and let them stop. But if you know, if I punish the person, he is going to continue doing the same thing. But if I forgive him, I call him, talk to him, forgive him his crime, he is going to feel sorry, understand, and reform. So you look at the condition, look at the person who committed the crime. What is best suited to the individual? Is it forgiveness that can bring reformation, or is punishment that can bring reformation? If punishment is the only solution that can bring reformation, then automatically you have to punish like the crime that he has committed. The same revenge should be taken. You should not go above. You understand? There is no it's not accepted in Islam for you to exceed on the revenge. Understand? If somebody beat you until you are injured, you have no right to kill that person. That's not the revenge. You can only revenge to the level of the crime that he committed upon you. So you understand? So you look at the situation. That's why Islam is the best religion. It gives the best solution to every single situation. You understand? Unlike the other way of other teachings. So thank you very much. Until we come in our next episode, this is all what time allowed us. Viewers, this is what time allowed us. We come to the end of another episode. We are talking about two very important questions. Whether does God punish us if we do not act upon his commandment and commit a sin or a crime? What is Allah's reaction towards that? Is he going to punish us or not? So we answered that already. He said, if someone commits an offense against us, what should be our response? Should we forgive in every situation, or should we take revenge in every situation? Or should we look at the situation, you understand, we see what is best applicable to that crime, or we should understand the purpose of why we are going to take revenge. That is ultimately for reformation. Thank you very much. I was your host, Said Sambaso. Until we come on your way here in MT International Gambia Studio. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi ta'ala wa barakatuh.